Sometimes life doesn't whisper that change is coming. Sometimes it shakes your comfort until you can no longer stay the same. My dear friends, if you're watching this today, maybe you feel restless. The old version of life doesn't fit anymore. What once excited you now feels empty, and what scares you also quietly calls you. This confusion is not a mistake. It may be a message, because before life upgrades you, it unsettles you. And today, I want to share 7 signs that your life may be entering a new chapter. Not a chapter of noise, a chapter of meaning. When what once satisfied you no longer does, it can feel confusing and even frightening. You might look at your life from the outside and think, I should be happy. I have what I once prayed for. Yet inside there is a quiet emptiness. Achievements that once gave you a rush now give you only a brief smile. Compliments feel lighter. Applause fades faster. This is not because you have become ungrateful. It is because your inner world has grown. There is a stage in life where success feeds the ego, and then there is a stage where success must feed the soul. When that shift happens, the old rewards stop working. Life is gently telling you that you were not created just to collect experiences, money, or recognition. You were created to grow in wisdom, compassion, and purpose. This dissatisfaction is sacred. It is the hunger of the soul asking for deeper nourishment. Many people silence this feeling by staying busy or chasing bigger versions of the same goals. But those who listen realize that this discomfort is an invitation to redefine success, to ask better questions, and to move from what do I get to am I becoming. When inner satisfaction changes its address, it is a sign that life is preparing you for a new chapter where meaning matters more than milestones. As you grow, familiar spaces can start to feel strangely uncomfortable. The places you've known for years, the conversations you've repeated 100 times, the routines that once felt safe now feel tight, almost suffocating. You may sit in a room full of people and still feel out of place. This does not mean those places or people are bad. It simply means you have outgrown the version of yourself that belonged there. Growth often creates distance, not because you are better than others, but because you are different from who you used to be. Think of a child trying to wear clothes from years ago. The clothes didn't change, the child did. When life stretches you internally, external comfort zones start to feel small. This discomfort is often misunderstood as restlessness or boredom, but it is actually alignment correcting itself. Life is saying if you stay where you are, you will shrink. If you move forward, you will expand. It takes courage to honor this feeling, because staying is familiar and leaving is uncertain. But every meaningful chapter in life begins with the courage to walk away from what is comfortable but no longer true to who you are becoming. One of the most painful signs of a new chapter is the call to let go. Relationships shift. Plans fall apart. Dreams you invested years into suddenly dissolve. It can feel like life is unfair, even cruel. You may ask, why now? Why me? But endings are not always punishments. Often they are protection and preparation. Life has a way of removing what cannot travel with you into the next season. Some people are meant to be chapters, not the whole book. Some dreams were meant to teach you discipline, not define your destiny. Letting go hurts because attachment gives us a sense of control. But growth requires surrender. When you hold on too tightly, you block the flow of what is meant to come next. Trust is built not when things go your way, but when you release them anyway. Letting go is not about forgetting or denying the past. It is about honoring what was while making space for what can be. Every time life asks you to release something, it is also asking, do you trust me enough to believe there is more? As life shifts, you may notice a growing attraction to silence and solitude. The noise that once entertained you now drains you. Endless conversations feel shallow. Crowds feel heavy. You crave quiet mornings, slow walks, moments where you can just breathe. In a world that celebrates constant stimulation, this desire can feel strange. But silence is not emptiness. Silence is clarity. It is in quiet moments that you hear your own thoughts without distortion. Solitude allows you to meet yourself honestly, without roles or expectations. Many people fear being alone because they fear what they might discover. But when life is preparing you for a new chapter, it gently pulls you inward. Reflection becomes more important than reaction. Depth becomes more valuable than distraction. In silence, you begin to understand what truly matters to you and what you have been chasing only to please others. Solitude is not about escaping the world, it is about understanding your place in it. Those who learn to be comfortable with silence develop inner stability that no external chaos can shake. Another clear sign of transformation is a shift in values. Things that once impressed you no longer do. You may notice that you are less motivated by status and more inspired by substance. You admire kindness more than confidence, consistency more than charisma. You start valuing peace over popularity and character over convenience. This change is subtle but powerful. Values are the compass of life. When they change, direction changes automatically. Many people live exhausted lives not because they work too hard, but because they work for things that don't align with who they are. When your values mature, your decisions become simpler, even if they are harder. You start saying no without guilt and yes without fear. You realize that not everything that looks good is good for you. This realignment may cost you opportunities, approval, or speed, but it gives you something far more valuable: integrity. And integrity creates a life that feels whole, even when it's imperfect. During this transition, life often tests your faith and patience. Progress slows down, answers are delayed, effort doesn't immediately turn into results. This is the phase where many people quit, not because they can't go on, but because they don't understand what is happening. Growth is not always visible. Just like roots grow underground before a tree rises, inner strength develops quietly. Delays teach humility. Waiting teaches trust. Uncertainty teaches surrender. Life is not ignoring you during these moments, it is refining you. What comes next may demand more emotional maturity, resilience, and wisdom than you currently have. So life gives you time. Faith during waiting is not passive, it is active trust. It is choosing discipline over doubt and gratitude over frustration. When patience is tested, character is built, and character determines how well you can handle the next chapter when it finally arrives. Finally, there is an inner calling that grows stronger with time. You may not be able to explain it clearly to others, and sometimes not even to yourself. You don't know exactly where you are going, but you know you cannot go back. The E is a quiet voice within that keeps nudging you forward. This voice is not loud or dramatic. It is steady and persistent. It shows up in moments of honesty, in dreams you can't forget, in questions that won't leave you alone. This calling is not about instant success or clear maps. It is about alignment. It is about becoming who you were meant to be, not who you were expected to be. Trusting this inner voice requires courage, because it often asks you to step into uncertainty. But every meaningful life is built by those who listen to that inner pull, even when the path was unclear. When you feel this calling, it is life's way of saying you are ready. Ready not because you are fearless, but because you are willing to grow through fear. When you look at all these signs together, you begin to understand something profound. Life doesn't announce new chapters with certainty. It prepares you with discomfort, silence, questions, and faith. If you are experiencing these shifts, do not rush them and do not resist them. Walk through them with patience and trust, because the next chapter is not meant to impress the world. It is meant to fulfill your soul. When what once satisfied you no longer does, it feels unsettling in a very quiet way. There is no loud failure, no obvious loss. From the outside, your life may look fine, even successful. But inside, something has shifted. The excitement you once felt after achieving a goal now fades quickly. The applause sounds distant. The rewards don't reach as deep as they used to. And you begin to wonder what is wrong with you. But the truth is, nothing is wrong. This is not dissatisfaction born out of ego. This is dissatisfaction born out of evolution. In the early stages of life, we chase things because they prove something. They prove our worth, our intelligence, our ability to survive and succeed. Achievements give us confidence. Recognition gives us validation. And there is nothing wrong with that phase. It is necessary. But there comes a time when the soul asks a different question. Not how far have I come, but why am I going there at all? When that question arises, the same achievements that once thrilled you start feeling shallow. Not because they are bad, but because they are no longer enough. This is the moment many people misunderstand themselves. They think they have lost ambition. They think they have become lazy or ungrateful. So they push themselves harder, chasing bigger goals, higher numbers, louder applause. But no matter how much they achieve, the emptiness remains. Why? Because the hunger has changed. It is no longer hunger for success. It is a hunger for significance. The soul is no longer interested in quantity. It wants quality. It wants depth. It wants meaning. Think of it like this. When you are thirsty, salty water will never satisfy you, no matter how much you drink. The problem is not the amount. The problem is the substance. In the same way, when the soul matures surface level, victories stop nourishing it. You start craving alignment instead of achievement, peace instead of praise, purpose instead of position. This phase often arrives quietly. You may notice that you are less excited about things you once obsessed over. You start asking deeper questions late at night. You wonder if this is all there is. And that question can feel scary, but it is also sacred. Because only those who dare to question the surface are invited into depth. Life uses dissatisfaction as a signal. It is life saying, you have learned what this level can teach you. Now it is time to grow. Just like a student who outgrows a class, staying longer does not help. It limits. When inner growth happens, outer goals must be redefined. Otherwise, success starts feeling like a burden instead of a blessing. This is also the phase where comparison loses its charm. You may notice that what excites others no longer excites you, and that can feel isolating. But remember, not everyone is on the same chapter. Some are still learning lessons you've already learned. Growth does not make you superior. It makes you selective. Selective about where you invest your time, your energy, and your heart. The danger in this phase is distraction. Many people numb this dissatisfaction with constant busyness. They fill every quiet moment with noise so they don't have to listen to what their soul is asking. But those who pause, those who reflect, discover something powerful. They realize that this emptiness is not a void, it is space. Space being created for something more meaningful to enter, when what once satisfied you no longer does. Life is not taking joy away from you, it is upgrading your definition of joy. It is preparing you for a chapter where happiness is not dependent on outcomes, but rooted in purpose, where success is not measured by how much you gain, but by how much you grow and give. If you are in this phase, do not rush to fix it. Sit with it, listen to it, let it guide you inward. Because this dissatisfaction is not the end of motivation. It is the beginning of wisdom. As you continue growing, something else begins to happen, quietly but unmistakably. The spaces that once felt familiar start to feel heavy. Rooms you've walked into 100 times no longer welcome you the same way. Conversations you once enjoyed now feel repetitive, shallow, even draining. You sit there nodding, smiling, but inside you feel disconnected. And you wonder, why do I feel like I don't belong anymore? This feeling can be deeply uncomfortable because familiarity gives us a sense of safety. We like knowing what to expect. We like being recognized, understood, accepted. When familiar environments stop feeling right, we often assume something is wrong with us. But this discomfort is not a flaw. It is a sign of inner expansion. Growth always creates tension with the past. When your awareness increases, your tolerance for what once felt normal decreases. You start noticing things as you previously ignored. You feel the weight of conversations without meaning. You sense misalignment in routines that no longer reflect who you are becoming. This is not judgment, it is clarity. Imagine trying to live today with the mindset you had 10 years ago. It wouldn't work. Not because the old mindset was bad, but because it served a different version of you. In the same way, places, habits, and even relationships are often aligned with who you were, not who you are becoming. When life prepares you for a new chapter, it gently removes the feeling of comfort from old spaces, so you don't get stuck there. Many people resist this phase. They force themselves to stay because it feels safer than stepping into the unknown. They say, at least I know this place, at least I know these people. But comfort without growth slowly turns into stagnation, and stagnation drains the soul far more than uncertainty ever could. This discomfort is not asking you to reject your past, it is asking you to stop living in it. You can honor where you came from without staying there. Gratitude does not require attachment. You can appreciate what once supported you while still accepting that it no longer serves you. What makes this phase especially difficult is guilt. You may feel guilty for wanting more, guilty for feeling restless when nothing is wrong, guilty for outgrowing people who were once important to you. But growth is not betrayal, it is honesty. Staying small to keep others comfortable only builds resentment, not love. Life expands us in layers, and every time a new layer forms, the old environment starts feeling tight, like clothes that no longer fit. You can pretend they fit, you can squeeze into them, but you won't be able to move freely. Growth demands space. This is also where courage is tested. Because leaving familiarity does not come with guarantees. There is no clear signboard saying this is the right next step. There is only an inner knowing that staying feels heavier than leaving, and sometimes that is all the confirmation you get. People who live deeply meaningful lives are not those who always knew exactly where they were going. They are those who listened when life made them uncomfortable. They trusted that discomfort was not chaos but guidance. That feeling of not belonging was not rejection but redirection. If familiar spaces feel uncomfortable right now, don't rush to judge yourself or others. Pause and reflect. Ask yourself gently, what part of me has grown? What am I being prepared for? Because often life doesn't push you out with force, it pulls you forward with unease. This phase is an invitation to realign your outer world with your inner growth, to choose environments that stretch you instead of shrinking you, to surround yourself with conversations that nourish instead of numb, to build a life that feels true, not just familiar. And remember this, feeling out of place is often the first sign that you are about to find where you truly belong. There comes a moment in life when holding on starts hurting more than letting go. And this is one of the clearest yet most painful signs that a new chapter is beginning. Things you once planned with certainty begin to fall apart without warning. Relationships you thought would last forever slowly drift, not because of a fight, but because of silence. Dreams you invested years into suddenly stop making sense, and you ask yourself, why is everything slipping away at the same time? But this phase feels deeply personal, as if life is targeting you. But life is not cruel, it is precise. Letting go is difficult because attachment gives us identity. We attach ourselves to people, roles, routines, and dreams, and over time they become part of how we define ourselves. So when life asks us to release them, it feels like losing a part of who we are. That's why this phase feels like grief. Even when nothing bad has happened, you are not grieving loss alone. You are grieving the version of yourself that existed in that attachment. Many people misunderstand the season. They think something has gone wrong. They try harder to fix, to control, to force things back into place. But the more you cling, the more exhausted you become. Because some things are not meant to be fixed. They are meant to be finished. My life removes what cannot grow with you. Not because it wasn't meaningful, but because it has completed its purpose. Some people come into your life to teach you company, confidence. Some to teach you patience. Some to teach you boundaries. When the lesson is learned, the attachment becomes heavy. Holding on past the lesson only creates pain. This is where trust is tested. Trust not just in life, but in yourself. Trust that you will be okay, even without what you once depended on. Trust that emptiness is not the end, but the space where something new can enter. Nature itself teaches this principle. Trees shed leaves not because they failed, but because a new season requires release. Holding on to dead leaves would stop new ones from growing. Letting go also challenges our ego. The ego wants continuity. It wants certainty. It wants to say, this is my life, this is my plan, this is how it will go. But growth requires humility. It requires the courage to admit what I wanted then may not be what I need now. That admission feels like defeat, but it is actually wisdom. Sometimes letting go means walking away from people who no longer respect the version of you that is emerging. Sometimes it means releasing goals that once defined you, but now limit you. And sometimes it means forgiving, not because the other person deserves it, but because your future does. This phase can feel lonely because release often happens quietly. There is no celebration for endings, no applause for surrender. But this is where inner strength is built. When you choose peace over attachment, when you choose growth over familiarity, when you choose faith over fear. One of the hardest truths to accept is that you cannot carry everything into the next chapter. Life travels light, and when you insist on carrying old baggage, the journey becomes heavier than it needs to be. Letting go is not forgetting the past. It is thanking it and trusting the future. If life is asking you to release something right now, don't see it as rejection. See it as redirection. Why is this being taken from me? But what is this making space for? Because life never empties your hands without intending to place something new in them. Letting go is not weakness, it is surrender with strength. It is saying, I trust that what is meant for me will find me, even if I don't hold on. And when you finally loosen your grip, you realize something profound. You were never losing life. You were being prepared for a version of it that requires lighter hands and a stronger heart. As life begins to shift you inward, you may notice something subtle but powerful. The noise of the world starts to feel overwhelming. The things that once distracted you no longer bring relief. Endless scrolling, constant talking, crowded spaces, non-stop stimulation. They begin to exhaust you rather than energize you. And in their place, a quiet desire emerges. A desire for stillness, for space, for moments where you can simply be without performing, without explaining, without proving anything. This pull towards silence and solitude is often misunderstood. Many people mistake it for loneliness or withdrawal, but it is neither. It is a sign that your inner world is asking for attention. When life prepares you for a new chapter, it does not shout instructions, it whispers them. And you can only hear whispers in silence. In solitude, you meet yourself honestly, not the version shaped by expectations, but the one that exists beneath roles and responsibilities. Silence strips away distractions and leaves you face to face with your thoughts, your fears, your hopes. This can feel uncomfortable at first. That's why many people avoid it. Noise becomes a shield against self-reflection. But growth requires awareness, and awareness is born in quiet moments. You begin to realize that not every conversation needs to be had, not every opinion needs to be shared, and not every moment needs to be filled. Silence teaches you restraint. It teaches you to listen more than you speak, to observe more than you react. And in that listening, clarity begins to form. This phase often comes after periods of emotional exhaustion. You may have spent years pleasing others, chasing goals, managing expectations, and now your soul needs rest. Not physical rest alone, but emotional and spiritual rest. Solitude provides that. It allows your nervous system to slow down. It gives your heart room to breathe. In silence, priorities become clearer. You start recognizing which thoughts are yours and which were borrowed from society, family, or fear. You realize how much of your life was driven by external validation. And slowly, gently, you begin returning to yourself. Solitude also strengthens intuition. When the mind is constantly noisy, intuition gets drowned out. But in quiet moments, you start sensing what feels right and what doesn't. Decisions become less about logic alone and more about alignment. You may not have all the answers, but you develop a deeper trust in your inner guidance. This does not mean you withdraw from the world forever. It means you learn how to enter the world without losing yourself. Silence becomes a place you visit regularly, not a place you escape to permanently. It becomes your reset point. Many wise traditions teach that transformation happens in stillness. Grow underground. Stars shine in silence. The most profound realizations often come when nothing else is demanding your attention. Solitude is not empty time, it is fertile time. If you find yourself craving quiet right now, honor it. Create small pockets of silence in your day. Early mornings, walks without headphones, moments without screens. You don't need to isolate yourself from everyone, you just need to reconnect with yourself. Because the more you learn to be comfortable in silence, the less you depend on noise for validation. And the more grounded you become in who you truly are. This is not a phase of retreat, it is a phase of preparation. Life is helping you build inner clarity before the next chapter unfolds, and when you step forward again, You won't be driven by impulse or pressure, but by calm understanding. Silence is not the absence of life. It is the space where life rearranges itself within you. As this inner transformation continues, you may notice that what you value begins to change. The things that once impressed you now leave you indifferent. You start seeing through the shine and questioning the substance. Status, titles, and external achievements lose their power to excite you the way they once did. Instead, you find yourself drawn to qualities that are quieter but deeper. Peace, honesty, consistency, kindness, and character. This shift can feel confusing because the world constantly tells us what success should look like. It celebrates speed, visibility, and recognition. So when your heart no longer resonates with those things, you might wonder if you're falling behind. But you are not falling behind, you are moving inward. And inward growth always changes outward priorities. Values shape decisions, and decisions shape destiny. When your values change, your entire direction in life begins to shift, even if nothing external changes immediately. You may start choosing peace over proving yourself, rest over constant striving, meaning over momentum. These choices might look small, but they quietly redefine your future. This is also the phase where you begin to respect simplicity. You realize how much energy complexity consumes. You notice that a calm mind is worth more than a crowded calendar. You start valuing emotional safety over excitement and alignment over approval. This doesn't make you less ambitious, it makes you more intentional. As values evolve, your definition of success becomes personal rather than borrowed. You stop measuring yourself by timelines that were never yours to begin with. You understand that just because something is popular doesn't mean it's right for you. And just because others don't understand your choices doesn't mean they are wrong. This change often creates friction. You may feel misunderstood. People might say you've changed, and they're right, you have. Growth changes people. But changing values doesn't mean rejecting others. It means honoring yourself. It means choosing what nourishes your spirit rather than what feeds your ego. With this shift also comes clarity about boundaries. You become more protective of your time and energy. You say no more often, not out of arrogance, but out of awareness. You understand that every yes is a commitment, and not every commitment aligns with who you are becoming. This selectiveness is not selfish. It is responsible. You also begin to notice that integrity matters more than convenience. Doing the right thing may cost you comfort, speed, or popularity, but it gives you something far more valuable: self-respect. And self-respect builds inner confidence that no external validation can replace. As values mature, gratitude deepens. You become less focused on what is missing and more aware of what is meaningful. You appreciate relationships that feel safe, work that feels honest, and days that feel balanced. Happiness becomes quieter but more stable. This stage of life teaches you a powerful lesson. Success without alignment is exhausting. You can achieve impressive things and still feel empty if they contradict your values. But when your life aligns with what truly matters to you, even ordinary days feel fulfilling. If you sense your values changing, don't resist it. Reflect on it, write about it, live according to it. Because values are the roots of your life. And when the roots are strong and true, whatever grows above them will stand firm. This shift is not the end of ambition, it is the purification of it. Life is guiding you toward a chapter where success is not loud but lasting. You may also notice that life begins to slow you down in ways you didn't plan for. Efforts that once produced quick results now seem to take longer. Doors don't open immediately. Answers don't arrive on time. You pray, you work, you wait, and still things remain unclear. This is often the moment when frustration peaks and faith is tested the most. But this phase is not a setback, it is a strengthening ground. When life delays you, it is not ignoring you, it is preparing you. The next chapter may demand a level of patience, resilience, and emotional maturity that cannot be rushed. Just as a muscle grows stronger through resistance, the inner self grows stronger through waiting. What feels like stagnation on the surface is often deep work happening underneath. Waiting teaches humility. It reminds you that not everything is under your control, and while that realization can feel uncomfortable, it is also freeing. You stop forcing outcomes and start trusting timing. You learn the difference between effort and obsession, between persistence and pressure. In this season, faith becomes less about certainty and more about surrender. You may not know how things will work out, but you choose to believe that they will. This belief is not blind optimism. It is quiet confidence built on the understanding that life has its own intelligence. Patience also refines intention. When things don't move quickly, you are forced to examine why you want them in the first place. Is it for validation, escape, fear of falling behind, or is it truly aligned with who you are becoming? Delays strip away impulsive desires and reveal genuine ones. Many people give up in this phase not because they lack ability, but because they misinterpret the pause. They assume delay means denial, but often delay means development. Life is giving you time to grow into what you are asking for. Rushing into blessings without readiness can turn them into burdens. This period also builds emotional endurance. You learn to stay steady even when progress isn't visible. You develop discipline without immediate reward, and that discipline becomes a foundation for long-term success. Quick wins can boost confidence, but slow growth builds character. During times of waiting, comparison can be tempting. You see others moving ahead while you feel stuck. But remember, everyone's timeline is different. What matters is not speed, but direction. Moving slowly in the right direction is far better than rushing toward the wrong one. Faith in this phase is practiced in small daily choices. Choosing gratitude instead of resentment. Choosing consistency instead of quitting. Choosing hope instead of bitterness. These choices shape your inner world, even when the outer world hasn't caught up yet. If life is testing your patience right now, don't lose heart. This is where strength is quietly built. This is where trust deepens. This is where you learn to stand RM without external reassurance. The wait is not wasting your time. It is shaping you into someone who can carry what is coming with grace. And when the next chapter finally unfolds, you will realize that nothing was late. Everything arrived right on time. There comes a point, after all the waiting, releasing, quiet reflection and inner reshaping, when something unmistakable awakens inside you. It is not loud. It does not come with a clear plan or a perfect roadmap. It is simply a deep, steady knowing, a feeling that says, I cannot go back to who I was. You may not yet know exactly where you are going, but you know with absolute certainty that staying the same is no longer an option. This inner calling is one of the most powerful signs that a new chapter is beginning. It doesn't shout instructions, it doesn't demand urgency, it gently but persistently nudges you forward. It shows up in moments of honesty, late at night when the world is quiet, during long walks, in thoughts you cannot ignore, no matter how busy you keep yourself. You feel drawn towards something more meaningful, even if you cannot name it yet. This calling often feels uncomfortable because it challenges logic. The mind wants proof, it wants clarity, it wants guarantees. But this inner voice does not provide certainty. It asks for courage. It asks you to trust growth before results, alignment before approval, purpose before comfort. Many people feel this calling but ignore it. Not because they don't hear it, because they are afraid of what listening might require. Listening might require change. It might require risk. It might require disappointing others. And so they silence it with routines, distractions, and safe choices. But the voice never fully disappears. It grows quieter, heavier, more painful to ignore. This inner pull is not about abandoning responsibility or chasing fantasy. It is about authenticity. It is about becoming more honest with yourself. When life calls you inward, it is inviting you to live in alignment with who you truly are, not who you learn to be to survive. The calling often comes after you have experienced enough of what doesn't fulfill you. Enough surface success, enough shallow validation, enough noise. It comes when you are finally ready to listen, not for excitement but for truth. Trusting this calling does not mean everything will immediately make sense. In fact, clarity often comes after movement, not before it. The path reveals itself step by step, not all at once, and that is why faith is essential here. Faith not just in life or God, but faith in the wisdom that has been forming inside you all along. This is also where fear shows up strongly. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of starting over, fear of making the wrong choice. But fear does not mean you are on the wrong path. Fear often appears when you are standing at the edge of growth. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is the decision to move forward despite it. When you fall out this inner calling, your life may not immediately become easier, but it becomes truer. And a true life, even with challenges, feels lighter than a comfortable life lived in contradiction. You may lose things along the way, certainty, approval, speed, but you gain something far more valuable, self-respect. This calling also invites responsibility, not responsibility to meet others' expectations, but responsibility to honor your own potential. You begin to realize that ignoring this inner voice would be a betrayal of your own growth. And once you see that, it becomes impossible to unsee it. Life does not give this calling to everyone at the same time. Some hear it early, some hear it late, some hear it and run from it. But those who choose to listen discover that the calling was never asking them to become someone new. It was asking them to return to who they were always meant to be. If you feel this inner pull right now, don't rush it and don't suppress it. Sit with it, reflect on it, take small steps in its direction. You don't need to leap, you just need to listen and move honestly. Because this inner calling is not confusion. It is clarity in its earliest form. It is life saying, you are ready for the next chapter. And when you finally trust it, you will understand something deeply comforting. You were never lost. You were being guided slowly, quietly, faithfully toward a life that feels aligned, meaningful, and true. My dear friends, when you look back at everything you are experiencing right now, the restlessness, the discomfort, the silence, the waiting, the quiet inner pull, you begin to see a pattern. Life has not been random with you. It has been intentional. Every unsettled feeling was an invitation. Every delay was a lesson. Every ending was a preparation. A new chapter in life does not begin when everything is clear. It begins when everything feels uncertain, yet something inside you feels steady. That steadiness is not confidence in outcomes, it is trust in the process. You were never meant to stay the same. Growth is not betrayal of your past, it is gratitude for it. You honor where you came from by becoming who you were capable of becoming. And the courage to evolve is one of the most spiritual acts a human being can perform. Do not rush this chapter. Do not compare it. Do not try to explain it to those who are not meant to understand it yet. Walk it with patience. Walk it with faith. Walk it with humility. Because the most meaningful transformations happen quietly, away from applause. Remember this truth and carry it with you. Life doesn't change chapters to confuse you. It changes chapters to expand you. What feels like an ending is often a refinement. What feels like a delay, why is often protection. And what feels like uncertainty is often the doorway to alignment. Stay grateful even when things are unclear. Gratitude keeps the heart soft during change. Stay disciplined even when motivation fades. Discipline carries you when emotions fluctuate. And stay faithful, not because everything makes sense, but because you trust that meaning is being formed. You do not need to have all the answers. You only need the courage to take the next honest step. The path will meet you as you walk it. And never forget this: when you move with purpose, patience, and faith, even detours lead to destiny. The next chapter of your life is not waiting for perfection. It is waiting for your willingness to grow. My dear friends, when life begins to change chapters, it rarely sends you a clear announcement. There is no grand ceremony, no loud declaration that says, "From tomorrow, everything will make sense." Instead, life works quietly, it works patiently, it works from the inside out. And that is why so many people misunderstand this phase. They think they are lost, broken, or failing, when in truth they are being reshaped. You pause for a moment and look honestly at your life right now. You will see that nothing you are experiencing is random. The restlessness you feel is not confusion. It is awareness. The discomfort you carry is not weakness. It is growth stretching you beyond what you have known. The silence you crave is not emptiness. It is your soul asking for spa. You breathe. And the waiting you are enduring is not punishment. It is preparation. A new chapter never begins with clarity. It begins with questions. Questions that disturb your comfort but deepen your consciousness. Questions that don't demand immediate answers but demand honesty. Is this who I truly want to be? Is this how I want to live? Is this what really matters? These questions are sacred. They are signs that you are no longer living on autopilot. Most people don't change because change requires facing uncertainty. Familiar pain feels safer than unfamiliar growth. Known dissatisfaction feels easier than unknown potential. So people stay. They stay in jobs that drain them, relationships that limit them, routines that numb them, not because they are happy, but because they are afraid. Afraid of starting again, afraid of disappointing others, afraid of failing, afraid of standing alone. But you, if you are feeling this shift, are no longer satisfied with survival alone. Something inside you wants alignment. You want your outer life to reflect your inner values. You want peace, not just progress. Meaning, not just momentum. Integrity, not just income. And once this desire awakens, you cannot put it back to sleep. Life, in its wisdom, begins to strip away illusions when you are ready. It removes false motivations. It dissolves attachments that once defined you. It slows you down when speed would damage you. And yes, sometimes it allows things to fall apart, not to punish you, but to free you. Understand this deeply. Not everything that ends was meant to last forever. Some things were meant to shape you, not stay with you. Some people were meant to walk with you for a season, not a lifetime. Some dreams were meant to teach you discipline and courage, not become your final destination. Letting go does not mean those things were meaningless. It means their purpose has been fulfilled. Growth is often lonely because it separates you from what no longer resonates. When your values change, your circle changes. When your priorities shift, your pace changes. When your awareness deepens, your tolerance for noise, drama, and superficiality decreases. And yes, this can feel isolating. But solitude in growth is far healthier than belonging in stagnation. There is a reason life pulls you towards silence in this phase. Silence is where truth speaks. When external voices quiet down, the inner voice grows stronger. You begin to hear what you were too distracted to notice before. You begin to recognize patterns, why certain situations repeat, why certain emotions arise, why certain choices drain you. Awareness brings responsibility. Once you see clearly, you can no longer pretend. This is also the phase where patience becomes your greatest teacher. You want answers, but life gives you time. You want movement, but life gives you stillness. You want results, but life gives you process. And this is frustrating, especially in a world obsessed with speed. But speed builds momentum, patience builds mastery. Waiting seasons are where character is formed, where discipline is tested without applause, where faith is practiced without evidence. Anyone can believe when things go their way, but belief deepens when you continue walking, even when the road is unclear. This is where inner strength is forged, not through dramatic victories, but through quiet consistency. You begin to understand that delay is not denial, it is direction. Sometimes life delays you because you are asking for something you are not yet ready to carry, and if it arrived too soon, it would break you or distort you. Life protects you even when it feels like it is withholding from you. In this chapter, comparison becomes a heavy burden if you allow it. You will see others moving faster, achieving more, settling sooner, and the temptation is to measure your life against theirs. But comparison ignores context. You don't know what lessons they are here to learn, and they don't know yours. Every soul has its own syllabus. Some lessons are quick, some are lifelong. What matters is not speed, but sincerity. This phase is also where the inner calling grows stronger. It no longer feels like a vague thought. It feels like a quiet responsibility, a sense that you owe it to yourself to live more honestly, to stop shrinking, to stop settling, to stop betraying your own values for comfort or approval. Listening to this calling does not mean recklessness. It does not mean abandoning responsibility. It means alignment. It means asking, does this choice reflect who I am becoming? And if the answer is no, having the courage to pause, adjust, or walk away, even when it is difficult. Fear will accompany you here. Fear is not a sign to stop. It is a sign that you are stepping beyond the familiar. Growth always feels threatening to the ego because the ego wants control. But the soul wants truth. And when you choose truth repeatedly, fear slowly loses its power. One of the most important lessons of this chapter is understanding that life is not asking you to be perfect. It is asking you to be present, to show up honestly, to do the best you can with what you have, where you are. Perfection delays action. Presence invites growth. You don't need a complete plan to move forward. You only need the next honest step. Clarity often follows commitment, not the other way around. When you walk sincerely, life meets you halfway. As this chapter unfolds, you may still feel uncertain at times. That is normal. Growth does not eliminate doubt, it teaches you how to move despite it. Faith is not the absence of questions, it is the willingness to trust even when answers are incomplete. Hold on to gratitude during this phase. Gratitude grounds you. It reminds you that even in transition there is grace, that even in uncertainty there is support. Gratitude keeps your heart soft while life reshapes you. Hold on to discipline as well. Motivation comes and goes. Discipline stays. Discipline is self-respect in action. It is choosing consistency over comfort. It is honoring your future self, even when your present self feels tired. And above all, hold on to faith. Not blind faith that everything will be easy, but deep faith that everything is meaningful. Faith that life is not working against you, but with you. Faith that even what you don't understand today will make sense in time. One day you will look back at this season, the confusion, the waiting, the letting go, the silence, and you will see it clearly. You will realize that this was not the period when your life fell apart. This was the period when your life came together internally. You will see that the discomfort refined you, that the delays strengthened you, that the endings freed you, and that the uncertainty taught you how to trust yourself, life, and something greater than both. So walk forward gently but bravely. Don't rush the process. Don't resist it either. Let life shape you. Let growth humble you. Let faith steady you. And remember this timeless truth: life doesn't give you the next chapter because you are ready in every way. It gives it to you because you are willing to grow. When you move with sincerity, patience, and faith, even the most confusing transitions become sacred turning points. Your next chapter is not asking you to impress the world, it is asking you to honor your soul. My dear friends, let me leave you with this truth, simple, timeless, and powerful. Life is not unfolding to you, life is unfolding through you. Every pause you are facing is shaping your patience. Every ending you are grieving is protecting your future. Every moment of uncertainty is strengthening your faith. Do not wait for confidence to move forward. Move forward and confidence will meet you on the way. Walk with gratitude even when the path is unclear. Walk with discipline and motivation is silent. And walk with faith even when you cannot see the destination. Because when your heart is sincere and your intentions are pure, life has a way of rearranging itself in your favor. Remember this and carry it with you. You don't need to know the whole plan. You only need the courage to take the next right step. And when you do, step by step, you will discover that what felt like an ending was actually life preparing you for a beginning, far greater than you ever imagined.